On the question of whether former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, Donald Trump's pick to lead the U.S. intelligence community, was placed on a TSA watch list this year. Let's go to CNN's Zachary Cohen. And Zach, Gabbard is a former member of Congress. You report she was placed on the Quiet Skies list and then was subsequently removed. What is that list, and how did she end up on it?
Yeah, Jack, this is a government watch list, and it identifies passengers who require additional security screening before they get on a flight. And it's based around an algorithm that uses certain criteria to identify these passengers that are then added to the list. And this criteria includes things like foreign travel patterns and foreign connections. And those are both reasons why Tulsi Gabbard, according to our sources, was placed on this list. Again, it's a additional security screening list for passengers who do ping multiple of these pieces of criteria. And now Gabbard has claimed publicly that she was added to a, quote, secret terror watch list. That's not what this is. She has also claimed that the reason she was added to the list is because she publicly criticized then presidential candidate Kamala Harris. Again, our sources vehemently deny that there's anything political that goes into the process for flagging passengers. And in fact, it's a very serious security tool that's used by TSA in a risk management and a risk-based approach. So look, Tulsi Gabbard, the reasons for and the circumstances around why she was added to this list, the specifics, could be benign, and the foreign travel that was flagged and the foreign connections may ultimately have no connection and no bearing to her personally. But again, this is unprecedented and highly unusual for someone who is tapped to lead the U.S. intelligence community to be on a government watch list. That is a very legitimate, again, piece of security preventative program by the U.S. government. So again, Gabbard has already raised eyebrows because of her questionable foreign interactions in the past. You'll obviously remember that she met with Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad back in 2017. She's parroted Russian propaganda talking points as well in public. So those are already things that are a concern to Republican senators in particular who are going to have to vote to get her confirmation through. Of course, we also know there's no FBI formal vetting process being done at this time for people like Gabbard, even though they've already been tapped for these cabinet level roles.
All right, Zachary Cohen, thanks so much.
And let's get more on this with our national security and political experts. All right, so let's start with the news that we just learned from Zach Cohen and Carrie Cordero. How serious do you see this revelation that Trump's pick to be the director of the national intelligence was placed on a TSA watch list earlier this year? What do you think?
So I think based on the reporting so far, it really does look like this was an algorithm based on her travel, based on potentially contacts that she has in particular regions. And so I think it's one data point that would certainly be subject of her confirmation hearing. In other words, I think senators would want to know, where are the places that she was? Why was she traveling there? What types of activities was she engaged in with respect to maybe foreign leaders that she was talking to, and what was she doing? But the actual placement on the list, as long as she was removed promptly once it was realized who she actually was, this doesn't strike me as anything that was intentional or politically motivated in other ways. It looks to me just like it was a system that is highly technical, using anonymous data and pulling all of that data together, and then it flagged her, and once it was discovered, she was removed.
All right, so S.E. Cupp, Tulsi Gabbard was already facing an uphill fight for confirmation. She has been accused of parroting Russian propaganda. How do you think this new revelation impacts her chances?
Not just Russian propaganda, it should be pointed out, Bashar al-Assad's Syrian propaganda as well, someone who covered Syria for a very long time. The things that she's done inside Syria and the things that she said about Bashar al-Assad and Syria are deeply, deeply troubling and should be worrisome. And I know many senators are worried about that. But this latest revelation is interesting. I just talked to a source in Intel who told me these kinds of watch lists have a very low threshold. And, kind of a lot of different things can be flagged that don't necessarily indicate that someone is, dangerous. And she was removed. But the same Intel source also said that Tulsi Gabbard is an amateur, clownish. He called her goofy and clownish and amateur, and does not expect that she will have smooth sailing in a confirmation hearing.